Alright. Hello everybody. We're back with some Great Ace Attorney. Let me pull up my Twitch dashboard if I can find it. The mobile app is so weird about okay. You basically can't get to your dashboard until you've already started the stream on mobile for some reason. So we're gonna play some Great Ace Attorney 2. If you see in the title, that Sus is also involved. Sus Among Us. And so some of my friends wanted to play Among Us out of the blue. Among Us. Among Sus. So we might be switching over to Among Us. Or we might not. Who knows? But I wanted to play some game, so we're gonna do that. We're gonna start with that. We're right in the middle of case 1 of the second game when we left off, and I want to get some more of that. Hopefully the stream won't crash. Last time I had some stream crashing issues, which were unfortunate. But yeah, enjoy the Great Ace Attorney 2 until we switch over to Among Us. Make sure the audio's working good. No one's here yet, so I can do whatever setup stuff I want. Yeah, okay, looks good. Everything looks normal. Let's continue. It's been like a week since I played once last week. I was gonna play some more, but yeah, I guess it was like a week ago at that point. Right. What evidence demonstrates a clear link between this case and the poison in the newspaper article? Evidence between this... I need to re-examine the evidence. Exclusive. Deadly poison stolen from Yume Laboratory. Following a lecture by Susato. A deadly poison being secretly developed. Even the smallest amount entering the body via the mouth or via a wound from a poison-laced blade would prove fatal in minutes. Current methods cannot detect the university would have to be consulted. Onset of symptoms occurs within minutes. Okay, but what connects it to this case? I mean, other than it involving Giselle. Is it this one? Because there's the extreme meiosis pupil constriction thing. Hold on, let me look at the pen. What is this pen? Very small amount of liquid still inside the ink reservoir. Maybe that's where the poison? No, that doesn't make sense, because she was stabbed with an actual weapon, so that doesn't make sense. Hello, welcome to the stream. I'm playing some more Great Ace Attorney. Might be playing some Among Us with my friends later tonight. Ooh, sussy. Among Us. We've gotten to the point where saying Among Us in a serious tone is not even possible for me anymore. Does this count as an Among Us reference? Like, I do the does it count as doing an Among Us reference during my Great Ace Attorney stream if I'm just actually talking about playing Among Us later on the stream? Does that count? I don't know. Probably. I mean, why wouldn't it? I just don't, yeah. It's like, it's not a joke this time. I'm actually maybe gonna play Among Us later. Photographic print of the scene taken by police just after the incident had occurred. The stab wound in the victim's back is clearly visible. Clearly. The debate became quite spirited. A discussion between my father and Soseki. I think it's this one. It's the only one that really makes sense. Because it's the only one that's really, like, connected. I would ask the court to refer to the notes section of the post-mortem report, which reads... Extreme meiosis. Yeah, okay. The pupil constriction. My first hint that there was poison involved. Ugh! Clearly, being a yokel with no knowledge of forensic science, I have no idea. So please, do tell me. Presumably, the fact that this condition of the victim was noted in the post-mortem report means that it's an unusual symptom of death? Well... Under normal circumstances, the pupils dilate when someone dies. If there was extreme constriction instead, that's most certainly unusual, yes. What are you doing, you yokel detective? In the newspaper article, there's the following information about the stolen poison. Onset of symptoms occurs within minutes, ending with acute contraction of the pupils prior to death. Let me just make sure it's all okay. I like to double check the recording. Like a minute or two in, just be sure everything's going well. You never know. You never know what kind of weird issues can happen when you're streaming. What are you talking about? If the defendant happened to notice that the pupils of Miss Brett's eyes had constricted severely. Yes, as a medical researcher student... Jesus, okay. I had a drink of water right before I started the stream, and somehow 6 minutes later, my lungs are still processing that. Yes, as a medical research assistant, she would have suspected poison immediately, without a doubt. Prosecutor Ouchie, I think you'll agree. This is very compelling evidence. You, Yoko student and Yoko professor! I believe the defense has expertly demonstrated a credible reason for the defendant's actions. No. Eugen Mikotoba. Yes, Your Excellency. I believe you are best placed here to confirm or deny the veracity of the defense counsel's argument. You will tell the court the truth about the details reported in this newspaper, please. It pains me to have to admit it, but I'm afraid I don't know. My source is I made it the hell up. You don't know! You made it up! The toxin was kept under lock and key in my laboratory, certainly, but I was unaware of any theft. Do you mean to tell the court that the reports of this theft are unfounded? No, Your Excellency. Without returning to the laboratory to investigate myself, I cannot say. Ha! Listen to the bumbling academic. Unaware of the theft of secret state research from his own workplace until he reads of it in the newspaper. I take full responsibility for the incompetence of my supervision. Father. A pitiful situation for a university professor. You should have more control over your students, rather than allowing them off on killing sprees. That's totally unfounded. Who just said hold it? Hold it? Oh, it's her. Okay, weird. None of this is Professor Mikotoba's fault. It's all my fault. Ray. Membami-san, you stand here accused. Outbursts like this will not be tolerated. But it was me. I was the one who noticed that the poison we were developing had been stolen that day. What? So you knew. I'd been placed in charge of overseeing the project. It was the day that the professor and Soseki-san were interviewed together for the newspaper. That's when I noticed that some of the poison was missing. Just a tiny amount, it was. Why didn't you let me know immediately? I was scared. The whole project was supposed to be confidential, but some of the toxin had somehow been taken. So, I decided I'd try to get it back before anyone else found out. I had a very good idea who the thief was. The thief? You don't mean... Yes, of course. It was that dainty English woman. Mr. Zelbrett! That's why I decided to join the little group of people going to the seaside. Inside the beach hut, I confronted Miss Brett. This is exactly what I thought happened. She confronts Miss Brett about the stolen poison, and they have an argument. Maybe she has to kill her in self-defense. The problem is, we're supposed to be proving it's not Ray, and this is gonna put a big thorn in that. She just sat on a stool in the back of the hut, smiling sweetly at me as if she knew she was untouchable. I know it was you who stole the poison. Well now, whatever do you mean? And then, she suddenly got to her feet, before falling to her knees in front of me and then collapsing on the floor. Listen, who the hell stabbed her? They would have had to, like, throw the knife. That's when I saw the knife in her back. I couldn't understand what had just happened. And then, a moment later, I was seized with fear. The pupils of her eyes had shrunk to tiny bits. So somebody stole the poison from her and poisoned her somehow. In other words, you realize that the victim was suffering the effects of the stolen poison. See, this story is so much less believable than her confronting Giselle about stealing the poison and then killing Giselle with the poison. She's incriminating herself with this story, unfortunately. We're gonna have to prove that this is right. So we're gonna have to prove this is true somehow. That train of thought was what spurred you to withdraw the blade. Yes, if the amount that had entered her bloodstream was small enough, she might still have a chance. That's what I'd hoped. Really, I'm so sorry for staying silent all this time. But unfortunately, girl, that testimony makes you even more sus! Sus! Among us! Your attempt to hide the truth of what happened is not something that can be overlooked. It is undoubtedly sus. However, I have duly noted the courage with which you confessed in the end. Thank you, Your Excellency. It's barely perceptible, but I do think the balance has shifted a little here. Not once he talks. Your Excellency, do not be deceived. The victim just collapsed before your eyes, you say? Well, Membami-san, if that is the case, perhaps you could explain how Miss Brett came to be stabbed, huh? Huh? Well, you have no answer because the simple truth is that you stabbed the victim. You are the imposter. You are sus. But you have no conclusive evidence to prove that assertion, do you? Oh, I have evidence, and it is very much conclusive. What's the prosecution counsel up to? It was brief, but he hesitated for a moment there. I'm almost sure of it. We will produce the aforementioned evidence at once, Prosecutor Ouch. Perhaps some praise is due, young Yoko student. What? I had imagined there would be no need for me to submit this evidence. But you've brought this on yourself. Okay, who the hell took this photo? Did the killer take this photo? I don't... What the... Could a more damning shot exist? The cruelty in the air? Well, okay, but this could still just be her pulling it out. Like, this doesn't disprove anything she said. If anything, it just suggests there was someone else there. This evidence, more than any other, reveals the true extent of the accused's murderous nature. For it shows the precise moment. And how do you know that it's the precise moment unless there was someone else there? I don't believe it. Ah! Order! 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 Counsel for the defense, was it you who was responsible for that shrill scream that just pierced my courtroom? Perhaps his voice has yet to break. These yokels are slow of mind and slow to mature. I'll show you who's slow to mature. Careful now. Susato is starting to show her face here. It is often said that a picture is worth 1,000 words, and here we have ample proof. The court would accept this extremely cogent photographic print as evidence. That is such a... We're gonna have to spend another, like, 2 hours figuring out this sussy camera whatever. I don't know. Great. Let's go. Let's go. Can't believe he had a photograph this whole time. It's such a stark image. I'm genuinely lost for... Wait a minute. I don't understand. How did you... I mean, who took that photograph? Ray. That's of no importance here. Stop trying to divert attention. Whoever took that photo is probably the killer. That's an absurd thing to say. It's crucially important. Whoever took this photographic print was a witness to Miss Brett's death. The court must be allowed to hear this person's testimony. A witness that is probably the killer. It's always the third witness in... It was the... Like, they can only introduce so many witnesses in this first case before one of them has to be the killer. It's gotta be... This has gotta be... I'm afraid I can't do that. Pardon? You see, the print arrived at the Imperial Police Bureau headquarters by express An anonymously sent photo? Come on! There was nothing to indicate the sender's name or address. The provenance of the print is unknown. Goodness. Are we to understand then, Counsel, that in full knowledge of the fact that this photograph has the murkiest of origins, you nevertheless believe it fit for submission as evidence in the Supreme Court? When you first produced that print before, I noticed that you'd hesitated for a brief moment, because you knew that it wasn't completely reliable evidence, didn't you? Silence, you yokel student and blabbering professor! What matters is the blatant truth that this print so eloquently expresses. But the defendant has already admitted to pulling the blade from the wound. Clearly this isn't the moment that the knife was plunged into the victim's back, but the moment it was withdrawn. Don't waste this court's time with your ramblings. Indeed. Without knowledge of who produced this print, we have no means of verifying the claim. But you also have no means of verifying her claim, or that it's a non-starter evidence. All it proves is that she touched the... All it proves is things we already knew. Susato, this is the time for you to fight. If what you've established so far is true, then there can be no doubt. This photograph shows the moment that Wei withdrew the blade from the victim. You'll have plenty of time to rue your defeat on the slow train back to the provinces. And to rue the day you came up against Takatsuchi Ouchi in a court of law! Okay, buddy. If I can't determine who took this photograph, then the trial is going to come to an end. There must be a clue somewhere. There must be some way of working out who took it. Well, Counsel? Your Excellency, who took that photograph? And the truth is, I don't know. No. Okay, never mind. Sometimes it's like, I don't know, comma, I need more evidence. You know what I mean? Like, it's not always, I don't know. Like, it's not always, I don't know, like, I give up. But I guess this time it was, I don't know, like, I give up, so. Susato, you need to steel yourself and summon your best argument. Discombobulate. I guess in this case it's more of a recombobulate. This isn't about whether I can or can't come up with the answer. It's about bluffing my way to the top. The identity of the person who took the print is, I assure you, something the defense can and will reveal. What? No, you can't possibly. But as you so boldly claim that you can, please do enlighten us. Unfortunately, I'm unable to present a name. How utterly underwhelming. Do you really believe you could? However, I am able to present evidence. The defense has a piece of evidence that reveals important details about the photographer's identity. Wow. Very well then, Counsel. Present your proofs to the court. Boom, boom. Could it be the person who took this photo? Because Soseki-san is always having reporters following around, so maybe it was a reporter? RM. But RM could just be Ray. That doesn't... but maybe RM is the mystery photographer is someone with an RM name. The piece of evidence in question is this. I'm afraid, Counsel, that when presenting evidence, you must learn to temper those wide, nervous eyes. I'm obliged to penalize you for the lack of focus in both your eyes and your answer. Take this L. Would you care to squeeze your head in your hands again, Counsel? To punish yourself? To discombobulate yourself? I'll squeeze my head as many times as it takes to win this trial. Your Excellency, may I? You may present another piece of evidence, but no more squeezing, Counsel. No more discombobulate bit. Okay, so it's not the pen. I doubt it's this. It's probably, maybe it's the newspaper with him and Soseki. I don't think anything else really, like...
Take that!
What is that? The newspaper again! Routus England returnees tell all. It's not the headline that's relevant here, Your Excellency. It's the photograph. If you look at it closely, you'll notice that there are some white lines on the right side. Oh yeah. Oh yes, indeed. It already caught my eye as it happens. Just like that. Once I got over that sick dab Soseki was hitting, I noticed there's white lines. Ah, what of it? A shadow of some kind, presumably, from the branches of a tree or the like. There are no trees growing inside my laboratory at the university, I can assure you. Now, if you look closely at this photograph, the same lines. Interesting. Good gracious! Look at this photograph! Every time I do, it makes me laugh. I can see those lines there. That tells us nothing. Ah, yes, it's a shadow of some kind from the branches of a tree. There wouldn't be any trees growing inside a hut at the beach, Counsel. What's quite remarkable about it is that the two patterns are absolutely identical. How could such an extraordinary similarity have transpired? The curious matching pattern that appears on both prints is a result of a camera defect, I'm thinking. That or a really weird photography technique. Obviously, it must be due to a problem with the camera used to take the photographs. With the photographic device? Yes. We can confidently say that the camera's lens must be scratched, and that the scratched lens causes unwanted lines to appear on every print taken with the device. In short, the two photographs under consideration here were taken with the same camera. But there must be hundreds of such camera devices here in the capital. It would be utterly impossible to identify the owner of this particular one. I think you're forgetting, Prosecutor Ouchie, that one of the photographs featured in a newspaper article. A newspaper? Ah! That's right. The author of that article is the author of the article? We don't know the author also took the picture, but we know whoever took that picture is the what? Who just said Minamunamu? Oh no. I see why you were called a raucous England returnee. That's a good one. What are you yelling about? You've already testified. It's Minimemo, I tell you! Minimemo! Mo! God, unhinged. Soseki-san, what was that? Did you say Okay, their first name... Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Meeny memo? Eeny, meeny, it sounds almost like an eeny, meeny, miny, fuck. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo pun. But it's not quite. I'm confused by this. Ever since I returned to Japan, a report from the Shayu News has been hounding me. A reporter has been hounding me, following my every move. A reporter by the name of Rayton Menememo. Okay, so I guess it's not eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Meeny, memo. Yes, hounding me from dawn till dusk. Oh, the guy's already here. Yeah, this guy. Okay. They secretly spot. Snapshots. Scribble stories. Boom, boom. A camera to the left of him. A notebook to the right. There I am, stuck in the middle with. Was that a to the left of me, camera, or what is it? A camera to the left of him, a notebook to the right, here I am, stuck in the middle with you. It's a bad one. So you're saying that this picture was taken by Minamemo? Yes. My lord, your excellency, Esquire. Okay, a last name like Menamemo, that absolutely, this absolutely has to be some kind of pun, I just haven't gotten it yet. Like, it may not be eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I think they already did that one, actually, in another Ace Attorney game. But it may not be eeny, meeny, miny, mo. No, yeah, they did. They had there was a character named Eeny Miny in Justice for All, I think. But that may not be the bit here, but his name is definitely some kind of pun. Rayton Menamemo. Rayton Menamemo. Rayton Menamemo? One more thing. I want this knife examined for traces of poison. You will solicit the assistance of the Imperial University's medical department for the task. Understood? Meh. Meh, meh, meh! Many memo! Many memo. Many memo. Rayton many memo. Rayton many memo. Rayton many memo. Other than being a tongue twister, what is that pun supposed to be? Bum, 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 bum. Rayton many memo. There's a lot of, like, hard names to say. We have Ray Membami. We have Membami and Many Memo. Like, come on. These are not real last names. These have to be puns. I mean, I get the Ray Membami one, but I don't know what this guy's pun is yet. It'll click at some point. I'm so sorry, Susato. I should have told you about the toxin. Dum 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 dum. Ray dum 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 dum. Yeah, Rayton many memo. Rayton many memo. Rate and many memo. Rayton many. Yeah, I don't quite get it. I'll get it. I'll get it at some point. You have a strong sense of responsibility. I know. That's why you decided to shoulder the burden alone. No, that's not it at all. I don't have a strong sense of responsibility. I was scared of my failure coming to light, that's all. So I hoped to retrieve the substance from the Englishwoman before anyone found out. Before this trial started, do you remember what you said, Susato? That you had no doubt in your mind about my innocence, that you'd stand by me to the last. I remember. And yet, I didn't deserve your trust in me. I hid important details from you, Susato. I completely betrayed your faith in me. Hit me, Susato! Okay. Throw me to the floor! Even though in my heart I knew that you'd pulled the knife blade from Miss Brett's back, there was just a brief moment when, in my mind, I doubted you. I'm sorry. After I stood here and promised you that I'd stand by you, I betrayed your faith in me, too. And as such, I failed you as a lawyer. Susato is very, like, honorable to a T. It's like, you know, if she does even, like, a minor thing wrong, she will, like, be racked with guilt over it. I think this situation has taught both of you a valuable lesson. Placing your unbridled faith in another is no easy task. Yes, Father, that fact has certainly struck home. Which is why I can see more clearly now. So, Ray, Yes? Can you find it in your heart to forgive me? Excuse me. Oh, Susato. You know you'll always be a gallant, dashing lawyer in my eyes now. I was so scared, you know, when it happened. I didn't know what was going on. The Englishwoman was sitting at the back of the hut, listening to what I was saying. And then a moment later, she suddenly got to her feet before collapsing on the floor with a knife in her back. It all happened right before my eyes. And you were the only people in the hut at the time? That's right. Just Miss Brett and myself. There was no one else. So I just don't understand how she possibly could have been stabbed like that. A great mystery indeed. I still can't believe it happened. That's why I just couldn't bring myself to speak up. It will be alright. However it happened, and whatever really went on by the sea that day. I promised you I'm going to prove everything you've said you saw is true? Yeah, that's what that said. I promise you that I'm going to prove everything you said you saw is true. You said you saw is true. Right in many memo. Spoken like a true Mikotoba. Now, I think we should discuss what's coming up in the trial, don't you? We don't have much time. We must make sure we have our facts in order. Hopefully the police have identified the poison on the blade by now. The trouble is, it's a completely new laboratory-synthesized blend of alkaloids. And the police won't have any way of testing for it. Oh, I see. Yes, without this chemical reagent, it's impossible to detect the well then why aren't we doing it? What? I sent a colleague of mine off with some earlier to deliver to the police headquarters. I think perhaps you should have some as well, though. Just in case. Alright. So we're gonna have to use that to prove that there's poison on some item later in this case. What's the matter, Susato? You're suddenly very quiet. It's this newspaper article. Exclusive. Deadly poison stolen from Yume Medical Research Laboratory. I'm wondering how the information got out, given that it was a government secret. It was all the Englishwoman's doing. What? It was when the professor and Saseki-san were being interviewed. That so-called English lady swarmed in and... Oh, Professor, surely your guest would love to hear about your work on that substance then. It put me in a very awkward position, to be frank. But Saseki-san's curiosity had been piqued, so I had little choice but to give him a cursory introduction. So then... Saseki-san knew about the poison. Yes, and it's highly likely that the reporter who was writing up the story about us would have caught a glimpse of the toxin too. This many memo sound. Raten many memo. Raten many memo. Raten many memo. It's hard to even say. Raten many. Rate, amend, and memo? It's a weird one. That's a weird pun, but rate, amend, memo. But there's no, there's no D. Weird. By the way, did that reporter join you all when we went to the beach? That's one of their more, forced puns, if that's what it is. Oh, no, I don't remember the reporter being there. Rate many memo. Indeed, he shouldn't have been. I very much doubt anyone would have wanted him. A known criminal had been given permission by the authorities to bathe by the seaside. So Seki-san pointed out that inviting a reporter might be problematic, so the man was sent back to his office. Yet he obviously didn't go back. He secretly followed the party to the beach and took this very candid photograph. And then presumably he posted it, anonymously, to the police. What I'm confused about is if this guy's a reporter, and he... So you're a reporter. You got a photo of a crime scene, a big scoop. Instead of taking that photo to your newspaper, you send it in anonymously to the police. This feels like somebody who's trying to incriminate her without incriminating themselves as being the killer. This doesn't feel like something you do. But if he was the killer, why would he have photographed it in the first place? This whole thing is strange. Counsel! We've just heard that the new witness is ready. The trial is about to resume. Please proceed into the courtroom at once. It's time to steel ourselves once again. Defense Attorney Ryotaro Naraho. Yes. Ray has put her faith in me. No. I'm fill up my water real quick. 13th, 11th, 11:30. Yeah, I'm gonna fill up my water real quick. I'll be right back. I love when my headphones fall off the desk and make a loud slam noise. Whatever. Jolly good, jolly good, jolly good. Was one of those water bottles with like a lid, with like a tight lid. It got my. You had to like get your hand wet. I'm trying to open it. Whatever. All right, let's get through. Let's go. I hereby call this court to order as we reconvene to continue the trial of Ray Membami. Prosecutor Auchi, have you summoned the new witness? Before I address that question, Your Excellency, I have some very important news to share. Oh? What news? And why does he look so happy about it? Yeah, what the hell? During the recess, with the collaboration of Professor Mikotoba's laboratory, the police re-examined the knife that was used to end Miss Giselle Brett's life. Excellent. I admire your rapid handling of the matter. Oh, too kind, Your Excellency, too kind. I was merely carrying out your instructions, of course. I had the Regent delivered to police headquarters by rickshaw, so it would be there in good time. But judging by the man's swagger, I fear we might need to brace ourselves for the inevitable. And, counsel, what were the results? This dagger, which was so cruelly used to end the life of the victim, has no trace of poison anywhere along its blade. Yeah. Why the hell did we have to send the Regent to the police station to test the blade at the police to, like... We could have tested it here. And not... whatever. Armed with the Regent, the test is extremely simple. They couldn't have made a mistake. So, we just don't have the Regent. Can we just use the Regent? In short, the accused feeble excuse earlier has been utterly destroyed. Like, can we just do the test here? Or are there other components we don't have here? Now, the prosecution is ready to call the new witness. Ah, the newspaper reporter who managed to capture a photograph of the crucial moment. Good. Very well, officer. Bring in the witness. Bring in the witness! I don't know what that was. No trace of poison, but if that's really the case, how could they just don't have the Regent yet. Right? Or the Regent just didn't get there in time, maybe. Witness, please state your name and occupation for the court. Okay, what the hell is the blue stain on his left hand? That is extremely sus. Extremely sus. And characters don't just have weird colored stains on them in these games without it being like something from the plot. Is that the poison? Rate enmity, rate enemy, rate enmity, Written many memo of the show you news. I'm what people like. No, that's a terrible voice. Written many memo of the show you news. I'm what people like to call a journo. What's a journo? What's a journo, Father? Do you know? It's simply a contraction of journalist. I'm there when the news breaks, putting pen to paper to catch those scoops so they're in print the next morning. They don't call me the hero of the Herald for nothing. The nice guy of news. Oh, so, what is this music? What is this music? It was you who took this photograph, wasn't it? Silly, silly, funny guy, silly guy, silly guy. Well, what have we here? I'm sorry? Oh, brace yourselves, people. Many memo senses a scoop in the offing. Female student up to foul play, defended by curiously handsome young lawyer in Supreme Court. The readers will lap this up. We'll set it above the fold at 72 point in a 5-blade format for the morning edition. Huh? Right then. Let's start with your name. Oh, it's Ryutaru Naruhodo. Next, what made you want to become a lawyer? I wanted to reform our country's legal system, I suppose. Ryutaru has suddenly become very ambitious, I see. I just borrowed Kazuma-sama's dream for a while. By the way, my name is Takatsuchi Aochi. That's Takatsuchi A-U-Chi. Ouchie, ouchie. Oh, it's ouchie, not ouchie, but the pun is ouchie. We're gonna move on now. The so-called dark horse of the Supreme Court. My objections strike fear into every defense lawyer's heart. No, the readers won't buy that. What? Witness. Yes? What this court demands to know is whether or not you were responsible for taking this picture. It was delivered anonymously to the Imperial Police Bureau only yesterday. Yeah, I wouldn't be a journo if I didn't click quick when presented with a scoop like that now, would I? Sometimes stories call out to me, sometimes I have to chase them down, but either way, you gotta go fast! Faster legs to run with and a fast hand to write with. It's no good if you don't note it down, I always say. That's what I call my many-memoism. The many-memoism? I still don't get the pun, but it's so painfully obvious that there's a pun here. Many-memoism. Many-memoism? Ah, yes. I remember your face. We met that day when you were interviewing yourself, myself, and Soseki. I'm gonna, look up the pun if I can't figure it out. They're gonna, lean into it this hard? Yes, right. That was me, Many-Memo, again. But you were supposed to be going back to the Show You news offices after our meeting. But the scoop is, I didn't! Because that Englishwoman's words had piqued my journalistic interest. That's why I'm licking this pencil. A criminal left to do as she pleases, just because she happens to be a British citizen? It's horse dog! This country's judiciary is rotten to the core. The Supreme Court's rulings aren't worth the paper they're written on. The police are just imperial pawns. Stay your tongue, young man. There are complex political issues at play. Well, anyway, I quickly jotted down those words she said in my memo pad. Memo pad. Raten many memo. Are you ready? I'll read it out. It's all here. Right, here goes. I should like to go with everyone to see your country's coast. A serious criminal going on some junket? The people need to know about this. That's why I decided to sneak after them. To get the woman's story so I could hammer her in the press. You mean to say that you did indeed witness it firsthand? The grim scene portrayed in this photograph? Oh yes, I saw it with my very own journo eyes. From start to finish through the viewfinder of my camera. Okay, so he only saw it through the, direct perspective of his camera. Thank you, Many-Memo-san. You will now give a formal testimony before the court. You will state exactly what it is that you witnessed the events surrounding Miss Brett's death. You will also tell us the pun of your name, please. I can't figure it out. The camera never lies. Oh boy, I'm gonna take a drink of water before I start reading this guy's stuff. Mario, it's a memo. The beach hut was made of shoddy old reed screen, so there were plenty of gaps I could see inside. The English woman was sitting on a stool when the student girl came in and started arguing with her. Seconds later, the girl pulled out a knife, throwing the English woman to the floor as she stabbed her in the back. My smoldering journo spirit burst into flames. Quick as a flash, I whipped out my camera ready to click. I pulled apart the rough weave of one of the screens and picked the lens through for the perfect shot. Read screens, you say? Right. You can see them clearly enough in that great shot I snapped. The hut walls were just screens made of closely woven reeds. Yes, it allows the breeze to pass through and bring some relief from the summer heat. And it was a breeze for me to poke my camera through and see the whole thing hotting up. Ignoring for the time being the appalling invasion of privacy involved, did you witness everything that happened from the moment the defendant entered the hut? Oh yes, I saw it. I saw the whole thing from start to finish. And you say that you took the photograph through a gap in one of the screens. Luckily for me, they were pretty shoddily woven. Not like my story, which is airtight. I pulled the reeds apart and thrust the lens of my camera through the gap. Would I get away with it, or would I be seen? It was the gamble of a lifetime. A tenacity of purpose that's considered admirable in a journalist, I suppose. Run a risk one day, run a scoop the next. That's meta-memoism in a nutshell. Meta-memo. Oh, the misery. Every single person is my enemy. At last. Appear we have a genuine witness to this wicked crime. The evidence and testimony are The evidence and testimony are extremely compelling. I believe we may be close to a verdict. Are we, though? Wonderful news, Your Excellency. Wonderful. Nevertheless, I'm not even sure we've met the killer yet. Like, I don't know, this memo guy doesn't have a motive. Like, I mean, unless he could have a motive of, like, creating a scoop, but, like, it's far-fetched. Nevertheless, it cannot be denied that this testimony begs one very large question. What question? Exclusive news, startling photograph, all the makings of an exceptional story for the reporter. Why then was the story never published? Yeah, that's the part that's weird to me. He sent the photo anonymously to the police instead of, like, publishing the story. It seems clear to me that there are circumstances at play here that are yet to be understood. Ha! More pathetic excuses. Very well then, counsel. Proceed with your cross-examination. He's keeping something about this case very close to his chest. Alright, cross-examination time. The camera never lies. The beach hut was made of shoddy old reed screens. There were plenty of gaps I could see. There's no contradiction there. The English woman was sitting on a stool when the student girl came in and started arguing with her. Let's get more info on that. So you actually saw Membami-san entering the hut. Yep, and she was raging. Raging like my journo spirit. And the argument you mentioned, what was that about exactly? You stole it. I didn't steal it. That kind of thing. Talking about the poison, I suppose. The student girl walked right up to the English woman and really started laying into her. I mean, if she'd laid into her anymore, that would have been eggs! The man should have been an author. His descriptive talents are wasted on journalism. But the student's rantings fell on deaf ears, like a Japanese person listening to English for the first time. He really ought to work on his similes first, though, to be honest. Anyway, the point is, that woman in the dock was mightily angry. And her temper finally got the better of her, it seems. Dear me. Which was the climactic moment I caught on film. That noise. Seconds later, the girl pulled out a knife, throwing the English woman to the floor as she stabbed her in the back. Wait, why do I have three... Oh, right, the strikes reset with the part 1, part 2. I was like, why do I have 3 strikes again? Seconds later, the girl pulled out a knife, throwing the English woman to the floor? How did she throw her to the floor? Do you swear before this court that you actually saw the precise moment the stabbing took place? Ha! The precise moment? I didn't see just that. I saw the whole hellish scene play out from start to finish. I here have a simple plan of the beach hut. Guaranteed this guy missed a couple moments. I mean, especially with, like, looking through his camera lens, having limited, like, no peripheral vision. Perhaps you could use this diagram to explain to the court what you witnessed. Right you are. It's all here in my memo pad. When I first peered into the hut, I'm sure that the Englishwoman was on this stool at the back here. The back of the hut here. Yes, the accused's own testimony confirmed that. She sat just at the back of the hut, smiling sweetly, is what I have noted down. It's my turn to testify now. Try not to interrupt. Then the next moment, as I was watching, the evil student girl entered the hut. After a while, the pair of them ended up in the middle of the hut, arguing furiously. They exchanged places. The English woman went for the student, but the girl dodged out of the way. And in a flash, plunged the knife into her adversary's back as the two passed each other. What you describe as a grim crime indeed. Never sugarcoat the truth. That's what Many Memo says. By the way, Many Memo song. Willis, you were watching that terrible scene unfold before your eyes through the gap in the screen. Did it not occur to you to try to prevent the tragedy, rather than capture it on film? Journos have to be observers. We can't get involved. That's our raison d'etre. I don't know how to say it. It's French. So, you didn't converse with Miss Brett at all? Obviously not. An observer always remains on the outside, looking in. And that's something to be proud of, is it? Your Excellency, if I may. Yes, Professor? I think the witness's last, expertly phrased statement should perhaps be added to his formal testimony. Father, what are you... Alright, which statement is... Okay. Well, nihilism is the foundation of many memoism, but I'll gladly prove that my words aren't meaningless. You know it's bad when the character has, like, a philosophy named after them, like they've named a philosophical outlook after themselves? Chuck Batmanism? Like, come on. I never once set foot in the hut, nor spoke with the Englishwoman. I was there only as an observer. Okay. So what do we have that counters that? Ah, yes. This must be the victim's blood. Oh dear. Blood is never a pretty sight, is it? You've always been fastidious about cleanliness, haven't you? I think this is something else, Father. Somebody who doesn't let you look at the logs when you're in here, so I missed one of those text boxes. Or in here. Okay. I'm having to fight the urge. Okay, yeah, filler dialogue. Let's press this. Really? You didn't set foot inside the hut at all? Are you quite sure about that? I think you may have the wrong impression of me. We're talking about a murder scene here. My nerves were stretched to breaking point already. I see. You were scared? Maybe I did have the wrong impression of you. Yes. It was all I could do to stifle a scream and hold my hand steady enough to snap the shot. You really should have summoned help before thinking of your camera. Many memoism and humanism don't always agree. What? Unhinged. And most of the time in those instances, many memoism comes out on top. As a sculptor of stories, sometimes I have to be cruel for my art. Yes, that's spot on. Writing that one down. For my autobiography. Many memoism. A journey through the many memos. It claims to have spied the whole affair from start to finish. If true, his testimony is devastating. But It does seem as though he's holding something back, doesn't it? If that's how you feel, I'd suggest you trust your instincts and press him on everything he said. I don't want to press every statement. Alright, hold on.
Hold it!
What made you want to see what was happening inside the beach hut in the first place? Call it journo instinct? Can you think of a better reason? Oh, I don't know. Perhaps because as well as being a proven criminal, the person inside was a young woman? Ah, I see where you're going with this. Brace yourselves, people. He's painting the journo as a voyeur. It's hardly slander, sir. You had a camera and you were taking pictures without the woman's knowledge. Nope. You've got it all wrong, little student boy. Sorry? To my mind, all that was inside that hut was a scoop. Nothing more, nothing less. You see, I'm a scoop sexual. Scoops know no gender. Man, woman, or woman, it's all news. That's not even memoism, that's basic journalism. If only the courtroom was as indiscriminate. Right, so if that's all buttoned up, can we move on? Tell the court then. What's I prove? Okay. When I pulled back the reeds, I could see it all as clear as day. The next part of my testimony. Did I press this? I pressed that one already. I pressed that one already too. I did not press this one. The court is fully aware of your desire to capture the incident on film, I'm sure. But why then did you choose to post the photograph anonymously to the police? I'm afraid I don't understand a word that's coming out of your mouth. I'm asking why, as a journalist, you decided not to make a story out of the incident. Think of me as a sculptor who makes art out of the sordid private details of other people's lives. But I never discuss my own personal life on principle. I mean, that's basic many-memoism. It's not something to boast about. No doubt your burning desire to see the truth exposed and justice done was what motivated you. That's it! That's brilliant! My burning desire to see something or other exposed. Oh no, dude. There has to be a good reason why he didn't think to write an article about what he saw, though. By your own admission, you were outside the hut. How then did you manage to take the photograph? Ah, yes, that! I'm glad you asked! It's the next part of my testimony. Put about the rough weave of one of the screens and poke through the lens through for the perfect shot! I'm having too much fun doing this voice, I think. But the two women inside didn't notice? Ha! Obviously not. If they had, where would I be right now? In jail, that's what. So he admits this is a jailable offense then. Okay, great. Awesome. Real classy, dude. Which you'd think would make you reflect on what you were doing, yeah. No, a journo's job is to collect little snippets of life as unobtrusively as possible. Leave nothing but footprints, take nothing but photos. Yes, that's spot on. Oh, I love myself. I'm gonna write this all down in my book. My book's gonna be a bestseller. This photograph reveals the whole truth. There is nothing more to be said. Alright, so clearly I gotta present something here. I never once set foot in the hut or spoke with the English woman. I was only there as an observer. How did he get the... How did they not notice him with such a wide... Hold on, my friend Ray can be seen kneeling over. The English pulling, they're throwing the English woman to the floor. But this is supposed to be the moment where she's there. It doesn't look like she was thrown to the floor.
Objection!
I'm gonna try it. I'm not confident on this. That's so, Counsel. Please take this in. You failed. Try again. Okay. Seconds later, the girl pulled out a knife, throwing the English onto the floor. I can't. How can I prove he never set foot in the hut or spoke to the English woman? Stream radiosis. Okay, the back wall looks pretty normal here. I I mean, there's that little tear right there, but the giant asshole that was there is not there anymore. Rachin Many Memo. Okay,
Objection!
The pen has RM Rachin Memo. Many Memo son, until now, I've had a firm belief that newspapers are in the business of uncovering and publishing the truth. You're spot on there, spot on. The press doesn't lie, which is why I'm proud to wear the emblem of the Show You News on my arm. In a way, that's more Many Memoism. Many Memoism. Rachin Many Memo. Rachin Many... I feel like the many memo part itself is some kind of pun I'm not getting. Mini memos? Writing mini... Writing many memos. Writing mini memos. Writing many memos. Writing many memos. Writing many memos. Yeah, okay, that's the pun. It seems the journalists who write for those papers don't always share the same passion for truth. What are you suggesting with those recriminatory words, Counsel? Many memos, son. Do you recognize this fountain pen? Ah! This pen was found at the scene of Miss Brett's death. In fact, the murdered victim was gripping it in her hand as she died. If you look at the barrel of the pen, you'll notice that its owner's initials are engraved there. R.M. Yes, thank you for bringing that up, Counsel. The initials of the accused, Raymond Bonney. Is it a coincidence, I wonder, that your initials are also R.M.? No! Rachin Many Memo. R.W.W. Walter White. You got me. That's horse dung. Can't you see? One of the central tenets of Many Memoism is being a pencil user. And yet, as the court will be able to see on your right hand, there's a very obvious blue ink stain. It would appear that you must have rather carelessly left it somewhere recently. Your favorite fountain pen, that is? Horsey horse dung! Horsey horse dung. Many Memo, son. Is it not the case that before she died, you met with Giselle Brett in that beach hunt? Why should we listen to this absurd nonsense? It's nothing but another excuse! Exactly. Show You News will stand behind me all the way. I deny everything. There must be as many people with the initials RM as there are stars in the night sky. The defense has neither the time nor the inclination to count every star in the sky. Huh? And there's no need, anyway, because this pen has more to tell. Yes, there is another clue. A clue that undeniably... Oh, right, didn't it have, like, blue ink? Or, like, a little bit of... Yeah. Of course, Your Excellency. If we take off the pen's lid... Let's unscrew the barrel. No ink. No ink. That proves it was written. Proves the ink went somewhere. Well, Many Memo-san, do you still deny it? Writing many memos. Writing many memos and I'm writing them very fast. Writing many memos and I'm writing them very fast. Let me see now. I think if I had to give it a headline, it would be... Night Sky Stars cause counting confusion for cocky courtroom counselor. Sorry? Go ahead, counsel. The stars await. You think you're so smart? Count every... You think you know who's guilty in this case? Count every star! Like, god damn it. Okay. What did I thought that was right. Isn't it the ink? We already unscrewed the cap. I don't know what else. Now I gotta unscrew the frickin' cap again. Okay. Oh, the symbol! I'm so dumb. As well as the initials, there is also an emblem on this fountain pen. An emblem that you will, of course, recognize, Many Memo-san. Goodness me! It's the fire emblem! I mean, it's the emblem of the Shoyu News! In other words, the owner of this pen is an employee of the Shoyu News, whose initials are RM. Suddenly, the stars in the night sky don't seem so numerous, do they? Well, Many Memo-san, how do you respond? No! Order! Order! Explain yourself, witness. So, that hurt my throat, I don't know. This is how the mighty Supreme Court works, is it? Using coercive tactics to have well-meaning citizens reveal harmless secrets? I've used nothing but honest tactics. Alright then, fine. I just won't try to hide it anymore. Yes, not long before that grim tragedy unfolded, I, a Shoyu News reporter, on behalf of the public, conducted an interview with the Englishwoman. You what? When exactly was this? As I said, it was before that evil little student girl showed her face in the hut. It couldn't have lasted more than 2 to 3 minutes, that's all. It was just a brief exchange. But it came to nothing. And as we Many Memoists say, the people don't pay their dues for unworthy news. However insignificant you deem it to be, this court cannot overlook the meeting between yourself and the victim. You will testify now under oath about the precise nature of this meeting and what transpired. Got it. Yes, alright, but on one condition. Condition? In all good conscience, I couldn't speak out alone about this. You need to call back the earlier witness, Soseki Natsumi-san. Why? Why do we need to call back Soseki-san? Oh yes, according to my notes here, that man has a secret of his own. Oh no, of course he's gonna spill everybody else's secrets too. What's the hoodwinked line? This guy's a cop? Worse, he's a reporter. Many Memoism states that one man's secret is every other man's front page story, unless it's my secret. I'm a massive freaking hypocrite. Soseki-san is hiding something. Great. Just right. The witness's secrets. I asked the Englishwoman for an interview, but she declined, so I left the hut without making a fuss. Then, watching secretly from the outside, I saw the woman being stabbed and the other witnesses come running. The detective realized that the victim still had a pulse, so he ran off to fetch help. That's when this writer man here asked the woman a very significant question. This isn't even a testimony about... It's just a testimony about Soseki's lie. Oh my god, dude. He didn't say any... If I'm not allowed to lie, he isn't either. Where? I'm a big stinky baby. It could be clipped. Holy. It could be clipped out of context. Where? I'm a big stinky baby. Okay. He didn't say anything about that in his testimony, which is why Many Memoism demands I reveal it now. You mean to say the victim... The victim regained consciousness? I don't know why I'm reading it like this now. And when she did, you decided to ask her a question? Wait. The victim regained consciousness? What is happening? Oh, I love when there's a testimony halfway through the case that just changes every fundamental fabric of the case. He did, and that's not all. The woman gave him a very definite answer. An answer that incriminates the accused. An answer that's going to make me become the Joker. This is preposterous. Why am I only hearing about this now? Why didn't you mention this before, you yokel hack? It wasn't even a conversation! Yes, I did pose the withering English rose a question. I don't deny it. But she could no longer speak. She was barely conscious even. Counsel for the defense, I expect a thorough cross-examination to be conducted here. This court must and will know the truth. Absolutely, Your Excellency. Reporters claiming that Miss Brett implicated Ray somehow. What on earth could have happened to that? There's a whole nother conversation we don't know? This is so sus. I asked the Englishwoman for an interview, but she declined. What did you ask for an interview about? I feel like this is a big part of the story that we're brushing over. You asked her for an interview, you said. Well, of course I did. I wanted to ask her about the incident she was involved in at the end of last year. About the case in which Dr. John H. Wilson lost his life. That's not the way I phrased it. I phrased it, why did you murder Dr. Wilson? Menomoism calls for straight talking. Yes, that sort of talking is as straight as a ruler. Ask every question if you're asking for a menu in a restaurant, I say. The best way. Some call me menu memo. I make a separate pun. A veteran at the paper taught me that. And how did Miss Brett answer? With one simple phrase. Mystery is a woman's charm. Oh, that told me. So I waltzed right out of there. It made me really horny, too. Leave every room as if you're waltzing in a dance hall, I say. It's the best way. That's not even many memoism. I was just trying to get laid. Play hard to get, you know? The many memo guide to hustling. How to turn many memo into many women. Watching secretly from outside, I saw the woman being stabbed. That was very persistent of you, considering that Miss Brett had just turned you away. Persistence wins the prize! Any memoist will tell you that. But do them think you've left, then just when they lower their guard, that's when you swoop in for the scussie. What? Sorry. As soon as the word scussie came out of my mouth, I'd realized I'd made a terrible, terrible mistake. The fruits of your labor are all too apparent in this telling photograph. Though I'm sure the young yokel student would rather not be reminded of this damning evidence. Actually, it's thanks to that photograph that we've managed to identify this witness. And now that you've found me, I'll tell you whatever you want to know. I've got nothing to hide. I'm an open book. A big scoop. Big, big scoop. Please do go ahead, witness. The court is eager to hear what you have to say. Try to stop me. Just try and stop me. There's a story to tell here, and Sorry, saying his name is hard. Rayton Many Memo is going to tell it. He's going to tell the story. I am deranged. I have to realize the victim had a pulse. I want to hear more about this question. About the statement. What question? What exactly did he say? Well, now you should hear that from the horse's mouth, I think. Don't you, Mr. Rider Man? Ah! Out with it, you yokel hack! What did you say to her? What did you say to the dying Englishwoman? Well, in truth, I'd been catching crabs at the water's edge and building castles in the sand, you see. Well, the seaside is a place to be at leisure, I suppose, even for a grown man. Then, all of a sudden, from that little beach hut, a young girl's panic-stricken cries for help pierced the air. Ray. I ran up to the beach to see what was happening, to find the defendant leaning over the collapsed victim. As soon as Inspector Hosanaga saw Miss Brett on the ground, he sprinted off to get help. And then, just a moment later, I heard a faint moan. A moan from the dead Englishwoman. Oh, God. Every drink of water, I'm like, this is like drink, and then I go straight back into talking, And it just doesn't, it doesn't process correctly. I nearly jumped out of my skin! Oh, the screaming isn't helping. What did you ask her, Soseki-san? I asked her, who did this to you? Don't protract this any longer! How did the woman respond? She didn't! She said nothing in response! But when in the stand, you will answer the questions asked of you unambiguously, for the love of God, man! Now, without evasion or reticence, I demand that you amend your testimony! I will! I asked her who did this to you. She never replied. She just lifted a trembling finger and pointed in the direction of the defendant. Walter, I'm not solving the case tonight, Walter. Miss Brett pointed a finger at the kid named Finger. Kid named Finger. Okay. Actually, probably am not solving the case tonight, because Among Us is waiting to be played. It's not easy to stand here and say this, but when we first entered the beach hut, the Englishwoman was sprawled on the floor before us with the student girl standing on the far side of her. And when I asked who did this to you, she pointed her kid-named Finger at the back of the hut, which was kid-named Student Girl. Okay, so she pointed at the student, she pointed at Ray. So, Seki-san, why on earth did you neglect to mention this in your original... Why did he neglect to mention this in his original testimony? Like, what could he be trying to... But fiddlesticks, I say! This is not a British court of law. You will respond in Japanese! Was he... So he's been speaking Japanese. How many... I feel like this is a bit that doesn't translate over. How much of his dialogue in this trial has he been saying in English? And how much has he been saying in Japanese? Yes, of course. The Englishwoman did point her finger towards the back of the hut, but I was trembling, and she was trembling, and everything was a blur. And thinking about it, I feel as though perhaps she was pointing in a slightly different direction. This incompetent fool. Why are you like this, Soseki? Actually, no, not slightly, in a very different direction. Then why did you testify? It was somewhere at the back of the hut, where nobody was standing at all. Almost like where the reporter was. Oh, pain and suffering. It's very, very unclear. I'm very, very confused. Objection! Your Excellency, surely this proves the matter beyond all reasonable doubt. Yes, the woman may barely have been conscious, and yes, perhaps her finger wavered slightly, but there can be no doubt that this was an attempt by the victim to confirm the identity of her assailant. I don't know why I took that whole line in one breath. There was no one other than the accused in the direction that the victim was... Okay, but where was the reporter? Where was the reporter? The headline's writing itself. Dashing lawyers hopes dash. 92 points across the whole page. We'll do an extra edition. This is a serious blow, Susato. Unless we're able to identify the true culprit and substantiate our claim with evidence, the judge will give his ruling and the trial will be over. But that's impossible, Father. We don't even know how the crime was committed yet. Impossible though the task may seem, we have no choice. We must think back over everything we've learned thus far. Somewhere in all those details, I'm confident we'll find the clue we need. At the precise moment Miss Brett was killed, the Englishwoman was sitting at the back of the hut, listening to what I was saying. And then a moment later, she suddenly got to her feet, before collapsing on the floor in front. How could Miss Brett have been stabbed in the back in a beach hut that was empty but for herself and somebody reached through the reed curtains? Which would suggest the reporter did it. The Galleon's yokel student's luck has finally run out. I can't say I'm surprised. In that case, I am ready to deliver my final verdict on this matter. If I can't establish what really happened, it's over. Where was the real culprit hiding? And how did he or she stab the victim? I know how. I'm not gonna say I don't know how. Your Excellency, I respectfully ask you to postpone your education for the time being. Oh? To what end, counsel? The defense would like to present the court with an alternative theory. An alternative theory that can explain who the victim was actually trying to implicate with her dying gesture. An alternative theory? Ha! None exists!
Objection!
There was someone else present at the scene who could have committed this crime. What? And the victim, Miss Brett, tried to reveal who it was to those around her at the time by mustering all her remaining strength and pointing a trembling kid-named finger in the killer's. Walter, where's the killer, Walter? This is fiction, fantasy. It's just a sweet fantasy, baby. It's just a game theory. I don't know. The moment the victim was stabbed, okay. The culprit was concealed. Okay, so at the moment of the incident, so the victim was like here. The moment the victim was stabbed, the victim would have been like here, right? Like these locations are based on the incorrect information. The victim was not closer to the culprit would have been like back here.
Take that!
Naruhodo-san would never give up, and I'm a Naruhodo now. The true culprit who fatally stabbed Miss Brett was concealed in this location here. Are you mad, counsel? You're suggesting the culprit was outside the hut. What? Order! But the student no Naruhodo-san Esquire. That makes no sense at all. You've just pointed out the exact spot where I was hiding to get my scoop snap. But I didn't see any suspicious individuals loitering about, I can swear to that. Obviously, if the culprit had been outside the hut, there is no way that he or she could have been stabbed to the Okay. Well, the person who's playing Hypnospace Outlaw is one of the people who was going to play Among Us with me. So, it doesn't seem like the Among Us is happening right now. Actually, Prosecutor Ouchie, there is a way. And, in point of fact, the defense can provide evidence strongly suggesting that it's precisely the way Miss Brett was killed. Do you know it? Do you know the way? You're bluffing! You're bluffing, you yokel! The defense's assertion is clearly too fantastical for the court to comprehend. What? The one that... I mean, the reporter did it. That's what we're saying. Okay, this may be, because it's like they stabbed through this little gap here, but I don't know if that's good enough. Let me... I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try it. There, the original photographic print of the crime scene. Bada bing, bada boo! Yes, it's clearly visible in this print. The trace of the fatal thrust that was delivered from outside the beach hut.
Objection!
Objection! Do you take us for fools? There's no hint of any such thing. I'm not sure that everyone present would agree. Someone, at least, appears to have noticed what it is that I'm referring to. Counsel? Once again, I must call on you to be explicit for the... Okay, yeah, that's the gap right here.
Take that!
Look closely, just here. Look at this photograph. In the screen at the back of the hut, you can see the effects of a blade having been forced through the reeds. No, I can't. I can't see any such thing. Your eyesight just sucks. By parting the reeds, a knife blade could easily penetrate them. This is extraordinary! Yes. The true culprit actually stabbed the victim from outside the beach hut. Oh! And of everyone present at the scene, there was only one person who could have done that. Only one person who was directly outside the hut when Miss Brett was killed. Writing many memos, son. You're writing many memos and killing many people. Well, really, you've only killed one person, but one is enough. This preposterous idea leaves me almost speechless. Look at the photograph again. The victim lies almost exactly in the same center of the beach hut. Are we to assume that the assailant was a knife thrower? Writing many memos, killing many, killing. Boo, boo, no, of course not. Do you recall the testimony of the defendant about the events just before the victim's death? Inside the beach hut, I confronted Miss Brett, but she just sat on a stool. Yeah, that was the stool. A stool. Have another look at the photograph. The slit in the reed screen would align perfectly with the back of a person who was sitting on that stool. My word! So, in fact, the victim was killed whilst sitting on that stool by a stab wound through her back delivered through the reed screen. Ah! Having been attacked, Miss Brett rose to her feet instinctively, but then, unable to speak, she collapsed on the floor in the middle of the hut before the defendant's appalled eyes. And that, Your Excellency, is the truth of what happened on the beach that day. Let's go! Writing many memos, killing many people. Is it really going to be that easy? This is absurd! That will do. It would appear that we have a tacit admission of guilt from the witness. Accordingly, this court has successfully established the truth of this matter, which means that the defendant, Membami-san, is innocent of the crime. Are we really already done? This case is only like 3 hours long. I mean, the first case of the first game was definitely a little longer than this. I must say, I've never been more proud. No, this can't be. The Hochi clan can't. What of my growth? My growth of hope! It wasn't all an aberration. I can't accept this. I won't. I see no reason for the continuance of this trial. Okay, here we go. It's not over yet. This story's not over yet. Ha ha ha! You thought this case would be over in only 3 hours? How very convenient for you. This is how the highest court in our mighty empire delivers justice, is it? Suppressing well-meaning citizens' freedom to speak and branding them as criminals? But we've established that the victim was stabbed from outside through the reed screen walls. It's a perfectly logical deduction, seeing as no one else was there except you. So, your argument hinges on the location of whoever stabbed the Englishwoman, does it? Well, it seems a little irrelevant now. Irrelevant? Where she was stabbed, how she was stabbed. It doesn't matter. I mean, whether she was stabbed at all makes no difference if you think about it. After all, this trial's already shown the whole thing hinges on something else. What? What? What are you talking about? Brace yourself, little man. I'm talking about the fact that everything's changed. Because of the dirt you dug up. What? Enough obscurity. Explain yourself, witness. What's to explain? I'm talking about the poison, of course. Cusco's poison. The poison to kill Cusco. Cusco's poison. Let's ask the professor for a comment on this situation, shall we? I understand that a deadly poison you were developing was stolen from your laboratory, correct? And it's been shown that this poison was administered to the victim, Miss Brett? Is that right? That is correct. The unusual constriction of the victim's pupils are a sure sign that this particular poison was used. I see. So, presumably that means... Why did I just get a Twitch notification? Twitch has Eagles versus Texans. Watch the game live on /Prime Video. Twitch trying to plug sports to me right now. Get out. I see. So presumably that means that the victim already had the poison in her body before she was stabbed. Huh? Wait, what? But, no, that's not... Given that her pupils were clearly constricted. But the pupils didn't constrict till after the stabbing. She had been dead already. The poison could not have... What? Even I'm confused. Refreshing to hear the argument of a metropolitan mind. Precisely. It matters not a jot who stabbed whom and whose back and with whose blade. Because the English woman's life was taken not by the knife, but by the poison.
Objection!
But that can be explained by the poison being on the blade, as I already...
Objection!
Oh, right. No poison on the blade. Blah, blah, blah. The blade of the weapon used to attack the victim had no trace of poison on it whatsoever. So let me get this down. The facts, as skillfully established by the defense in this trial, turn out to be a headline-making red herring. Okay, well, even if the stab wound was not what did the murder, you still stabbed her, dude. Did you or did you not stab her? Nothing can be easy in this courtroom. Everything must be a challenge. Not a challenge. Where does this leave us? How, in that case, did the poison enter the victim's body? There was an undeniably obvious answer to that. The lady most likely imbibed it. You mean she drank it? Have another look at the photograph. Look at this photograph! They keep saying it and it makes me laugh. A bottle of carbonated water in a glass had been knocked onto the stain. Oh no, she was killed. I don't want to figure out what drink the poison is in, dude. Well, what do you know? Look at those dashing eyes. This will make a great front page shot. Hey, why the bewitching stare? After all, I'm the last person you should be looking at. It would make no sense at all that I poisoned the woman, would it? I mean, that's been established already.
Hold it!
But you still stabbed her. What are you talking about? Don't tell me you've forgotten. That's a little hard to believe, given that the person who established it was you. Me? What on earth does he mean? Ooh, let me capture those wide eyes. Oh, this is prime press fodder, it is. It would seem that this trial is not destined to end yet, after all. I'd recommend we have at least... I'm thinking we have at least another hour left. You know, possibly another whole stream. I hereby call upon the witness to give further testimony. That's great, that is. Let me get a shot of that magnificent beard, Your Excellency. You claim it to be impossible that you were the one responsible for administering the poison to the victim. You would explain to the court in your testimony the basis upon which you make such a claim. I'm a journo and I'm a man. I've never tried to run or hide from anything in my life. And I'm not about to start now. Because that's many memoism. I don't want to read the word many memoism ever again. Just where's this trial taking us? Oh boy, more testimony. Complete innocence. Oh yes, I stabbed the English woman, and it's that very fact that... But why did you stab her? Why would I have bothered to stab the woman if I'd already poisoned her? What a stellar argument for I didn't commit a murder. Why would I have bothered to stab someone if I'd already poisoned them? What is happening? When I heard the student girl and that pompous English murderer arguing, it got my goat. If the courts weren't going to punish Brett for what she did, someone else would have to see justice done. So you're admitting to attempted murder, then? Okay, dude. You are the one who stabbed Miss Brett in the back through the reed screen. You can blame this miserable country of ours. A country that bows to the pressure of foreign powers and lets murderers walk free. What kind of future can a country like that have? That's why I did it. I did what our pathetic leaders didn't have the guts to do. Slap bang in the middle of that charming lady's back, I plunged the blade of sweet justice right in there. This does not track with this guy's, like, character or motivations. I don't believe this. As someone who spends his life seeing that the truth is told, I feel really, really awful about giving false information in my testimony before. No, you don't. They never do. But you're just sorry you got found out. As it turns out, there was somebody else who had it in for the victim and got to her before me. That's right. You guessed it. That pretty little student girl. Now there's a woman after my own heart. You're implicating Ray again? She's the one who gave the poison to the English woman and ended her pitiful existence. And suddenly, snap, this journo here is off the hook. Attempted murder instead of regular murder, baby! The argument is sound, certainly. If the witness had administered the poison himself, they need only have waited for it to take effect. Subsequently, stabbing the victim in the back would have been entirely nonsensical, much like the majority of his testimony. And therefore, this reporter had nothing to do with the poisoning. Yes, it's all quite logical. That's right, it is. Logical and true. I deal in facts and logic. I'm glad you've all seen the light. Justice at last! This is unbelievable. And after I'd made so much progress in proving his guilt. Yeah, he clearly is the killer. You wouldn't tell this weird-ass, I didn't kill them, I just attempted to kill them story. Like, I don't believe for a second that he is, like, that he has some moral qualm with her that would motivate him to do vigilante justice. Like, this guy? No way. No way. Actually, no way. He is hiding something. Please let me proceed with what I assume will be your final cross-examination. I somehow doubt it will be, though. How long did the first case of the last game took me, like, a good solid, like, 5 hours, at least. Oh, boy. This is gonna be fun. Let's go. We're in it for the long haul. Whether that means finishing this case 2 hours from now tonight, or switching over to Among Us in a little bit. We'll see. My friends aren't playing yet, so. Why would I have bothered to stab the woman if I'd already poisoned her?
Hold it.
What a stupid line of... So you still maintain that you didn't give the poison to the victim. Obviously, that'd be like putting a... I didn't read it. That'd be like putting a belt on your trousers when you were already wearing braces like these. My big suspenders. That's the joke. Doesn't work when I'm not on screen anymore. The accused administered the poison, following which this witness stabbed the victim. I love when there's multiple killers. Forgot. The law works, you see, loco. Not one of murder. Yeah, his crime's attempted murder. Which is... I don't know. I guess I'll get less of a sentence. 2 consecutive attempts on her life in the space of minutes. Quite a day for the victim. Do something that evil and you've got it coming. That's how the law works. The law of reckoning. That's not the kind of law this court upholds. You will reiterate why you were compelled to stab the victim, which...
Hold it.
What did he hear them say? About what happened in the restaurant 9 months ago. That's what they were arguing about. A student girl was laying into the English woman for getting a beloved mentor, Dr. Wilson. Yes, John H. Wilson, professor of medicine. We're going to establish this 70 times. Her case was to be heard by the British Consular Court in Shanghai. However, there is little doubt that she simply would have been acquitted and sent back to her homeland a free woman. It was eating that student girl up inside, you could see it. I really felt for her. Is she gonna contradict this? I can't stand here and listen to this tripe. Young girl, you stand accused here. You can't just blurt out things whenever you feel like it. Also, you're a girl. Girl stinky. Girl stinky. No, you can't. Sorry, but I'm in the middle of some very important testimony here. Just keep quiet and listen. Be a good girl now. But this awful man is making all of this up. Susato, please, you have to make them listen. Stop calling me Susato. Return to the dock at once, Membami-san. We're in the middle of a cross-examination. Your Excellency, please, I implore you. That journalist is clearly not a trustworthy witness. Exactly. He's a filthy, rotten, black-hearted, bigoted, dirty, great, peeping Tom! Whoa, take it easy there. Please, I really think the court should hear what the defendant has to say. Your Excellency, I see no need whatsoever to entertain the accused's remarks. I will grant the request of the defense, because I'm a nice judge. I'm not a mean one like the other. This is likely to be the final cross-examination. He keeps saying that, but somehow I don't believe it because we're only an hour and 43 minutes into this stream, and last stream was only like an hour and a half. So I feel like we still have another hour left. Unfortunately. Not unfortunately, I mean, this is fun. I think the opening case of the first game I liked a little better, to be honest. But this one is fine. Fine enough. Are they playing Among Us now? We won't play Among Us. Please come on board. Let's see if we can't like finish the case, or at least if they cut to a part 3 screen. As such, I believe it would be ill-advised to stifle the defendant's obvious concerns. So it is recognizing that this contravenes regular protocol, I hereby call upon the defendant to speak. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Discussing the stolen... Wait, what? Oh, she's adding her statement on. Okay. It was nothing to do with Dr. Wilson. We were discussing the stolen poison. So she's contradicting what he said about their discussion. Interesting. Okay. Let's press her on this. The stolen poison that killed the victim, you mean? I suspected her of being the one to steal it. I mean, just think about how she killed Dr. Wilson. That's true. Additionally, Miss Brett certainly had knowledge of the new poison. But surely it would be no easy task to steal a highly secret toxin being developed for the government. Indeed. All visitors to the laboratory are thoroughly searched when they leave. Even if a thief managed to avoid being seen by myself or a colleague, getting the poison out would be very difficult. Just realized I'm turning his voice into the reporter voice again. I didn't turn it, but I'm doing the reporter voice again for some reason. That's true. I pestered Professor Mikotoba until he agreed to show me the poison when I visited his laboratory. But as I left, I was searched from top to tail. Miss Brett rather bluntly revealed the existence of the toxin we'd been developing, you see. And since Soseki-san expressed such an interest in it, I felt unable to refuse. Obviously, I gave nothing away other than the fact that it was an extremely potent substance. I'm very ashamed of myself. It's just that I've had a singularly terrible experience with a deadly poison. I wanted to look my old enemy in the eye! Oh, the misery! every single poison is my enemy! To find out if my suspicions were true, I confronted Miss Brett about the poison. I told her if there were to be an incident involving it somehow, it wouldn't just be the university. The military would be dragged into it, the whole government even. It would be a complete disaster. And how did Miss Brett respond to your accusation? She just curled those beautiful lips of hers and said she didn't know the first thing about it. In English, actually. Ah, yes. Mini-Memo-san, one small question, if you don't mind. I do mind. Can't you see I'm busy? Clearly, you were outside the beach hut listening in whilst the defendant and Miss Brett were conversing. Presumably then, it was you who wrote this article about what you'd heard? Exclusive. The exclusive deadly poison stolen from the laboratory article? The story was published in this morning's edition of Show You News. The details are too accurate for it to have been written by anyone else. Sorry, don't know what you're talking about. Yes, look at this. The entire article is almost what I said to Miss Brett, word for word. Ah! Well, Mini-Memo-san? As a journo, and as a citizen of a free country, I don't have to reveal my sources. That's a founding principle of Mini-Memoism. Father's clearly right about this. That reporter did write that article, and he based it on what he overheard from outside the hut. So that's what it was all about. You were trying to cover up the fact that you were listening in. That's why you came up with that stinking story about me arguing with her. Shut up! My stories never stink! Look, whatever you say, little girl, it doesn't alter the facts. Your Excellency, there's something I want to say, and I want it to go on record. Oh, boy. Very well, you may amend your testimony. The point is, if you poison someone, there'd be no reason to then go and stab the person as well. Okay, so that's the final point he's now making. That if you poison somebody, there'd be no reason to go and stab the person as well. Unless they didn't die. A set of symptoms occurs within minutes. Some symptoms would be such as these dozen in my mind. I don't know. It's pressed.
Hold it!
Perhaps you doubted the efficacy of the poison, Jesus, and sought to make sure your victim would die? That's horse dung. What? That would be like pouring pepper on your Chinese ramen before you've even tasted it. Completely reckless. Although, it might surprise you to learn that I am a bit of an impetuous pepper pourer as it happens. The impetuous pepper pourer poured pepper all over their pasta. And now that's a tongue twister for you. Write that one down. Once the victim had taken the poison, she would have been only minutes away from death. And yet, this man then proceeded to stab her in the back as well. There has to have been good reason for that. If it was the reporter who gave the poison to Miss Brett, then clearly he must have done it prior to Ray entering the hut. But how did he know about the poison, then? Because Ray didn't explain it till after. Between him leaving the hut and the victim being stabbed, there was one very crucial change. Sorry? The reporter overheard the conversation. Yeah, how could what he overheard is when Mini-Memo-san first found out the exact nature of the poison he'd used. What? The victim had unwittingly taken the poison already, the reporter would have had no reason to stab her. So something in what they said about the poison, led him to feel the need to stab her. I don't know why I thought there was another one left. Hold on. If you poison someone dead, they know reason to stab that person in the face. Oh, God. Sorry. Gamer neck. Activated. Gotta stretch it back. What? Okay, if you... What about what they said? Let me look at this. Super developed. Maybe he thought he could cover up his crime by stabbing her? Because of the whole, put it on the knife thing?
Objection!
Well, I can think of one reason. What? But before I explain, I'd like you to confirm something for the court. Ooh, we're gonna trick him into... Yeah. Did you glean all the information from this newspaper article from what you overheard outside the hut? Of course he did. There can be no question of that. After all, when we were all in the laboratory together, all we were told was that it was a terrible toxin. I like how he did the, like, funny pose that he'll do when he uses the, like, alliteration. Because he's used alliteration on terrible toxin. So he did, like, the first step of the pose. According to the witness, Membami-san's verbal attack against the victim began as soon as she entered the court. In other words, it would have been impossible for her to have slipped the poison into Miss Brett's drink. Where are you going with this? Manny Memo-san has made it quite clear that he observed every single thing that happened in the beach hut. If the defendant had somehow found an opportunity, this man would have seen it. Which means that Miss Brett couldn't have imbibed the poison. In fact, it must have been administered to her before Membami-san entered the hut. Yes, very articulately put. When I walked into the hut, I immediately started to press Miss Brett about the poison. At which point, Manny Memo-san overheard some worrying information. Worrying information? What worrying information? The information which he subsequently included in his newspaper article. Namely, that the poison was being developed in strict secrecy, and that it couldn't be readily obtained. Oh. The only possible place it could come from is my lab. And furthermore, anyone afflicted by the poison would exhibit telltale signs. So he realized he would get caught if somebody found out he was there. But he could have just not stabbed her and left, and then no one would have known he was there and that he used the poison, right? That would have been a much better solution for him. Like, he could have just... Everyone in my laboratory is aware of the unique properties of the toxin we've been developing. None of them would be foolish enough to attempt to use it for some nefarious deed. Membami-san being no exception. Therefore, we can conclude that whoever administered this unique poison to the victim was a lay person, unaware of its telltale properties. I actually don't know if I agree with this, like, push in logic here. But, whatever. Dun, dun, dun. I just feel like he could have gotten out of this situation way easier if he just bailed after poisoning her. Like, why did he stick around? Like, was he trying to get a story? Why did he poison her to begin with? In other words, someone like you, Rayton Menimemo. It was you who stole the poison from the laboratory that day, and it was you who administered it to the unwitting victim. But you quickly realized that was a terrible mistake, because the poison caused such unusual symptoms and was so traceable. Like, who cares if they trace it to the poison if you don't know who the killer was? Like, there's no proof this reporter knew about the poison. Just don't write the article. As you listened in from the far side of the beach hut's thin walls, you learnt of these facts. But you'd already given the victim the poison at that point, so you hatched a plan to disguise your mistake. This was such a panic move. He should have just left. My dude should have just left. No one would have known he was at the scene. The plan was to kill Miss Brett before the poison could take effect. But maybe he was worried she would say something about who was in the tent while being poisoned. That would actually make sense. Once in the blood, the poison causes the onset of pupil constriction, but he had hoped to precipitate the victim's death before that happened, hadn't he? Exactly. Because without any revealing signs of the new secret poison's use, no one would have ever suspected. This is extraordinary. Yes, the effects of the poison meant it would be too easily identified, so the killer had to mask its use, which he attempted to do by plunging a knife into the middle of the victim's back. We may actually finish this case pretty soon. It seems like we're, I don't know, it seems like we're getting there. There were a number of, yes, I counter completely. The prosecution's evasive response clearly shows that in much the same way as he nurtures the remnants of his top nut, he is clinging to his lost hope. Lost hope! Despair! Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh, is this a freak out? Ah! You pathetic, useless, fallen samurai! Fallen? Who are you calling fallen? My burgeoning growth is on the run. I don't need a counter-argument. What? What are you talking about? It should be blatantly obvious. I stole the poison, you say, gave it to the victim, you say, stabbed her, you say. Lots of fine theories. But I don't need a counter-argument because you don't have an argument yourself. Where's your evidence? It's turning into J. Jonah Jameson. That's intentional. Yes, you make it sound all so plausible, don't you? But without evidence, it means nothing. Whereas I base my news on facts and logic. Hypothetically, if I was the killer, that's what you're saying right now. But you have no proof. What the professor said earlier this trial, it's all here in my mini memos. I've written mini memos. That's what the rate, okay. Every word, every slip of the tongue, all noted. That's what if I hadn't figured out the pun earlier, I would have figured it out right there. Because they spelled it out there. And that's what the Show You News is famous for. It's the power of the printed word. How's that then? Blown the story wide open? See, I, Rayton Menimemo, a mere reporter from the Show You News, couldn't possibly have stolen that poison from the professor's laboratory. Yeah, no shit. But then, somehow he knew she stole it. That is how did he know that? Because I was thinking he stole it from her. I don't know. He could have stolen it from her. Maybe. But how would he have known to do that? We'll see. What's your point, you annoyingly handsome country bumpkin? My point is this. There is one way that you, Many Memo-san, could have stolen the poison that day. I have heard enough verbal conjecture now, thank you. What the court must be shown is evidence. That this witness stole the poison on the day in question. I don't know. That's a weird one. Because I guess, I didn't think he actually stole it from... Let me look at this photo in greater detail. No, I want to look at the photo. Yeah. Can you move your text box out of the way, please? Or not. Okay, great. Let's see anything in that photo that's particularly... The pen!
Take that!
He put it in the pen! The proof, Your Excellency, is in the pen. A fountain pen? How can that possibly be relevant? Those magical pens somehow seem to have enough ink to write many thousands of kanji characters. I believe they arrived in our country for the first time some 15 years ago. Ah! I swear by a weasel hair calligraphy brush and nothing else. These newfangled pens are merely a pad. Pen? More like penis! Penis! Ha ha! Suck up a soup can of scrumptious milk and shove it and spill it on your balls. What am I saying right now? What am I talking about? What am I saying? Right now. Read the dialogue. Fountain pens have a small reservoir in the barrel, into which ink is sucked up through the nib of the pen in order to write with later. What is there all this talking of sucking up ink have to do? Ah! How does it all just have to do with sucking balls? And just as it's possible to suck ink up into the reservoir, it's also possible to eject it through the nib again, of course. My word. Can this really be? Well, Many Memo-san? Okay, but what motive does this journalist have to steal the poison with his pen and then, like, put it in her... I don't know. This case just gets stranger and stranger. And not in a funny ha-ha way, more than just like, I'm genuinely confused as to why any of this happened, kind of way. When you saw the deadly poison before your eyes in the laboratory that day, you used your fountain pen, your very lifeblood, to steal some of it, didn't you? By siphoning the poison up through the nib and into the pen's reservoir. Ah! More absurdity! That never happened! True, we've heard that there were procedures in place to prevent thefts like this from the laboratory, but would anyone thought to look inside a fountain pen? No, I'm a little ashamed to say that for fear of offending our guest, such a detailed search would not have been concluded. Well, this is quite startling, I must say. I remind the court that this pen was found in the clutches of the victim when she died. In other words, it was dropped at the scene by Many Memo-san. Why did he leave it though? The crucial question is, when exactly was the pen dropped? Are you suggesting... The natural conclusion is that in your haste to act whilst the victim was distracted, you dropped the pen after you emptied the poison from it into her glass. There could be any number of alternative explanations. For example, the witness could have been using his pen to write down details. And when shocked by one of her outrageous answers, the pen fell from his quivering hand. No, that can't be. If it was, how do you explain why the pen was devoid of ink? What? As you can see for yourself if you examine the evidence, there would appear to be no ink present in the reservoir. What newspaper reporter goes to interview someone with nothing in his pen? No, the pen was dropped after the poison that filled its reservoir had been emptied into the victim's glass. Witness, what do you have to say in your defense? Ah! Ha 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 ha! So this is how a modern justice system works, is it? So what if the ink in my pen runs dry? So what if my pencil snaps? God. I can always claw my way back into the game. I have plenty in reserve. What is he doing? Ah! Ah! I'm going Wolverine mode. You claim I sucked the poison up into my pen? You claim I took the poison up into... I've inhaled a round of helium! Ow! That's wild speculation, nothing more. I like how earlier I was making his voice deeper, and now I'm just like, I need to suck my titties right now. Oh no! Thank God. There the one viewer is right now. You're a real trooper. Thanks for sticking around. Please don't leave. Please. I want to imagine that you're laughing. If you thought you could bring down a fine, upstanding citizen with a trick like that, think again. It looks as though it's going to take one final decisive blow to finish this matter. As I see it, the situation is now very simple. It rests upon whether or not this witness did indeed steal the poison on the day in question. And therefore, it all depends on whether or not the defense can prove that he did, with evidence. Ha! No such evidence could possibly exist. This is how our modern justice system works. What? In the courtroom, evidence is everything, something you would do well to remember. I am not... What was he talking about? I got so distracted by that dumb helium bit. Based upon whether or not the witness did indeed steal the poison. So the defense needs to prove that he stole the... Okay. So we're just like hyping ourselves up right now. Got it. I thought he was trying to prove something for a second. The final piece in the puzzle. When we prove he stole the poison. And then I'm gonna go like stretch my back. And play some Among Us. I've been hyping up the Among Us portion of the stream all stream, but it could very well not happen. What am I doing again? The defense can prove by means of this item that it was the witness's pen that was used to steal the poison. Jesus, I'm kind of checked out of this one. I don't know. This case is not quite gripping me the way that the first case of the first game did. I think that was just a really like exceptional first case. This one is a little more like standard. They needed to give us a tutorial case, so they gave us one where we play as Susato. And that's like, I'm not sure it has that much plot relevance beyond that. Yeah. We'll test it for poison. Counsel, what is this bottle? That bottle contains the unique chemical reagent that can identify the poison in question. Ah! Yes, that poison is an entirely new synthesis of alkaloids developed by my colleagues and I. It would be impossible to detect traces of it by any other method. Or, from another perspective, simply with this chemical reagent, anybody at all could check for traces of the poison. A reagent? What? What does that mean? I'm not a scientist. One drop of the contents of this bottle on the tip of your fountain pen, many memos on, is all it will take to solve this case beyond all reasonable doubt. No. You can't. I won't. Your crimes are bad enough, but at least know when to admit defeat. Your Excellency. I want to look at their profiles. I haven't looked at their profiles. How old is Ray? 14, 16? She's like, Hosanaga with the, like, turtle. Raiden Many Memo. 38. Huh. He looks younger than these two, but... Carry out the test on the fountain pen. The music's not even playing anymore. Are we gonna get a funny breakdown cutscene? Let's go. This isn't my fault! The Empire drove me to this! Trying to hold its head as high as a satellite, I took up arms in the form of the mighty pen. I fought tirelessly on the— Wait, was his motive actually just that, like, injustice? Oh my god. Ray is a boss. Susato, with me! Susato Takedown? Susato Takedown live in the courtroom? This just in. Susato Takedown has been done on me, live in the courtroom. Did I do it right? That was a Susato Takedown, wasn't it? Not quite. That was a Ryutaro Takedown. Let's go! New move! New move! Is she gonna be in Smash? Ryutaro Takedown. Let's go! What? It's so deranged. The instant the first drop of the regent touched the nib of the fountain pen, it was clear to everyone present. When I saw it there in the lab, the poison, it never got a hold of me, and I decided to do it on a whim. I excused myself and emptied all the ink down the sink in the bathroom, washing the reservoir out carefully. So there was so his motive actually was just like, she deserves to die for her crimes? That's not what I expected. He just kind of did it all on impulse. That's interesting. And we waited for an opportunity to suck up some of the poison, didn't we? Into your fountain pen. Yes, that's right. Answer me one thing. Hold on. Okay, the Among Us friends are ready, but we're right at the edge of the cave. So I'm gonna let them know. Answer me one thing, Many Memos. Why did you steal it? For what purpose? Isn't it obvious? To find out what it was made of and expose it in an article. I mean, it was a secret project after all. Too juicy for a journal like me to pass up. Then, why did the Englishwoman end up dead? I went into that hut intending to quiz her on her situation, that's all. As a reporter. Ooh, I think I'll get on, you coward. I'm literally, I can't stop the killer's already confessed, Kirk. I have to finish this. A known killer enjoying full freedom, evading justice by leaving the country. I told her what I thought about it. And she just laughed in my face. Oh, what's this? A Far Eastern caveman purporting to practice journalism. Really, you must learn the difference between reporting and listening at doorways, you ignorant plebeian. What? What did you call me? This country, with its pretensions to a justice system, to a free press, it's really very depressing. You see our superior ways in the West, yet you lack the mental capacity to emulate them. Get out of here, you oaf. Get out and crawl back into the cave you came. I like that the only chat message that has been sent this stream, Kirk, is you, Kirk, telling me to get on call for Among Us. Very cool. Very cool. I'm not salty at all. I don't care. I think it's funny, to be honest. Just a get out, you coward. Get on, you coward, in chat. What a terrible tale. In my head, I knew I should just get out of there as quickly as possible, but I couldn't. Couldn't let her get away with what she'd done when she clearly had no remorse at all. I suppose it was my journo spirit getting all fired up. I'd like to ask you something. Yes? You often talk about justice, but surely as a journalist you could have used other means to deliver the justice you sought. There's no justice in the press. After that trial 9 months ago, I kept digging and digging to find out what had happened in that courtroom. And finally, I discovered the truth. It was a cover-up. That's what it was. Oh! So he was invested from that first case. He was trying to... Okay. A cover-up? What do you mean? I would remind you of your position, witness. Be careful of what you say. Oh, come on. Doesn't it strike you as strange? We're suddenly not allowed to convict a foreign national. Consular jurisdiction should never have come into it. And yet that puffed-up Englishwoman was going to sail away into the sunset a free woman. The only possible explanation is that behind the scenes, some deal had gone down between Britain and Japan. What sort of deal? I'd done my research, dug up all the dirt, was all ready to be published. But you know what happened? The editor just tore the article up! There's the motive. It came under pressure from the government, you mean? If our government is going to let criminals walk free, if they're going to crush the free press, then what choice do I have but to see that justice is done myself? I'm Wolverine! Let's not forget, many members, that you committed murder yourself, and you tried to lay the blame at the defendant's door. I'm sorry, but you're no better than Giselle Brett. What? The truth is, you have no right to talk about justice at all. I suppose... That's it. That's the whole sentence. I suppose. Okay. It would appear that we have reached a conclusion in this trial at last. Counsel for the defense. Ryutaru Naruhodo. Yes, ahem. Sorry, Your Excellency. Just musing. It's almost unbelievable that this is your first experience of the Supreme Court. It was an excellent performance. In truth, it very much reminded me of your cousin's exploits. Oh, Naruhodo-sa... Ryunosuke, you mean? The way he handled the trial 9 months ago, and the way you handled this one, gives me hope that we are genuinely entering a new era of justice in this land. That's very flattering, Your Excellency. Hearing the defense you put forward today made me feel most keenly that the future of our justice system will be forged by you and your contemporaries. The future of Ace Attorney. So, Prosecutor Ouchi, do you have any final thoughts? Oh no. Prosecutor Ouchi? I, Takatsuchi of the Ouchi clan, have been bested by a callow youth not once now, but twice. If there was any shred of my former self left, it is withered and died here today. Common Ouchi L. Silence! Rather than living on in shame, I will end it all now with this blade. He's gonna cut off the thing on his head. He's not gonna, like, stab himself in the courtroom. He's just gonna cut the thing on his head off. Sprig of my topknot, the time is right for farewell. Hope is lost forever. Takatsuchi. This bit. So dumb. Can you hear the dog barking? Because the scene's so quiet. What is happening? This is silly. Okay. Can the case end, please? My friends are waiting for Among Us time. They're getting on. They're getting on. They're getting on. I can see them. I'm coming soon. I know, I can see. I can see. You're getting on Among Us. Now, in regard to the defendant, Rei Membami-san. Yes, Your Excellency? I've reached my final verdict. I hereby find you not guilty. Bum 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 bum. 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 Among us is sus. Sus among us. Sus among us. Court is adjourned. You can go play Among Us now. Oh, we gotta do the epilogue scene real quick. I'll rush through it. It's over. My heart is still pounding in my chest. It's all I can do just to stay standing. Lawyers have such great responsibility, such a great burden to bear. Don't they, Naruhodo-san? I hope we cut back to him in the next case. Susato! 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 You were so dashing in there. Right? And father? Honestly, I'm so touched by everything you've... Oh no, I think I'm going to cry. It wasn't easy, but together we made it. I was on the verge of tears at the end, too. The only reason I'm still here is because of you. Oh no, I can't take all the credit. It took courage to tell the truth in there. You did wonderfully, Ray. We what? I know, we're do a practice round. We're friends, equals. The trial's over. It's time to celebrate with swagger. How about a celebratory game of Among Us? Right, I see. We're gonna try to get a game. Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead. Start up a game without me. I'll be there soon. At any rate, we really knocked the wind out of that horrid man, and it felt so good. Yes, it was so satisfying. It really was. Isn't there anybody else we could throw together? Oh my god, I still can't get over the Susato takedown live in court clip. Incredible. That's one I'm gonna have to clip later. Oh my goodness. No, of course not. Of course not. There it is at last. Ray's lovely smile. You fought for your friend to the very last. As your father, I'm extremely proud of you. Defense Attorney Ryutaro Naruhodo. Anyway, it's time to bid farewell to Ryutaro, I think. I shall miss him in a way, but... Oh my god, Ray has such a crush on Ryutaro, which is so funny. So I'll never see him again then. What a terrible shame. What? What is happening? Ah, Soseki-san and Inspector Hosonaga. I do hope you've been keeping well. Is that really you? Yes, I had to change my appearance for, well, obvious reasons, I hope, but it's me, Susato Mikotoba. So dashing, so divine. I like that everyone, man and women alike, were like, wow, Susato makes a hot boy. What a weird bit. It's like doubly dashing, yes, and devilishly divine. I had no idea, Miss Susato-san, Esquirus, that you were locum student Naruhodo-san, Esquire's cousin. Soseki. Astonishingly, astounding, ace attorney! I said it! I said the title! We do not need a Suseki-san flashback right now. We're moving past this. And now he seems to have earned himself great fame as an author. An ace author. I'm stunned. That's a truly impressive disguise. Even I had no idea, and I'm a chief inspector at the police bureau, who came up with Mr. Turtle, no less. Mr. Turtle really is the, Blue Badger precursor. I'm not sure you should be admitting to that, Inspector. What, that he came up with Mr. Turtle, or that he couldn't recognize me? Amazing. You're a woman of many faces, I see. Just two, really. And this was once in a lifetime event. I hope. I'm not a patch on you, though, Inspector. Well, I am a professional, of course. It's disguise time. I do worry about you, Inspector Hosonaga, sometimes. Okay. Alright, we got the recap for these two, in case you played the second game without playing the first game for some reason. Hosonaga is bad at his job, if you weren't here for those streams. What do you mean? The truth has been lost forever. I'm talking about the murder that the English woman committed at the end of last year. Ah, yes, it was an English doctor she killed, as I understand it. Dr. John H. Wilson, yes. The man I invited to Japan personally. The mystery is, why did she kill him? And now that the culprit herself is dead, we'll probably never know the answer. On the voyage to Great Britain, we had a most uninspected encounter with Mr. Herlock Sholmes, the great detective. Yes, I remember Sholmes well, of course. Ah, my arch nemesis. How lightly you utter his name. Well, according to the stories published about him, the detective once had a partner who helped him solve crimes. A best friend. And that man was an exceptional doctor of medicine by the name of John H. Wilson. Yeah. It's the basic premise of this game. The murder of Dr. Wilson, it had to have happened for a reason. And we don't know why. We still don't know why. That's the game's biggest mystery. The first case of the first game he was killed, and now his killer has been killed. As you know, I traveled to Great Britain once myself to study. It was around the time you were born. Yes, grandmother told me about it. When returning to Japan, I took up my professorship at the Imperial Yume University. But I also serve another role, as an advisor to the government on diplomatic affairs. Yes, I was aware of that as well. However, the audience was not. In that case, I'm sure you understand that there are some confidential matters I cannot divulge to you. More government secrets. Why did you summon me back to Japan? It's been 2 months now since I returned. When I left England, it was because an urgent telegram had arrived from Japan. It said that you'd collapsed with a high fever and were growing weaker by the day. That's what I'd like to know where that came from, because after that long sea voyage, I found you in fine health, Father. Was there something in Great Britain that you perceived might inconvenience me in some way? Yeah, you did make it right at the end, Jack. You missed the live in the courtroom Susato takedown. Absolutely incredible scene. I'll clip it later because it was funny. That's really the only explanation I can think of. That I'm right at the edge of this case, and the rest of our group is actively waiting for me to play Among Us. So we're gonna jump to Among Us, and why is this guy still out here? We're gonna jump to Among Us once this scene is over. Among Us, Among Us, Among Us. The faster I say it, the less I pronounce it. What? Many Memo-san. I've got one last thing to say before they take me away, Professor. Me? I know the truth. I know you had a hand in what went on, in that visiting student's fate. What? Visiting student? Giselle Brett, you mean? No, not her. The student of law who left for Great Britain 8 months ago. What? Kazuma? What? Her dad had a hand in Kazuma's... What? What do you mean? What are you talking about? What does any of this have to do with Kazuma-sama? Nobody here in Japan knows anything about it. They don't know that the guy never made it to England, that he died on that steamship, and that he'll never... Ah! Did the judge just Susato takedown him? Judge cameo off the bench, full body judge profile. Unseen. Well, I didn't expect to find him in here. What were you officers playing at? Why are you bad at your jobs? Why did I just have to come off the booth in a form the audience is not supposed to see me in and karate chop the guy? I was coming to tell you that the rickshaws arrived, Eugene, and it's a good job I came by. Oh, it's so weird to see the judge. Everybody's getting here right as I'm finishing the case and about to transition over to Among Us. They're playing without me right now, though. They'll be fine. This part of the case is sick. It's so weird seeing the judge out of his, like, booth. You missed a live Susato takedown in court, and of the killer, who killed the killer. He killed the killer from the first case of the first game. And now the judge is out here, just, like, chilling with us. The trial's over. Oh my god! The judge has a name?! The judge has a name! Let's go! New lord! The trial's over. I'm not your excellency anymore. Merely your father's friend, Shishiro Jigoku. And may I say that since I saw you last, you seem to have taken on a more dashing appearance. Susato. The judge is based. The judge is a character? The judge is a character now? Unheard of. Unprecedented. Unprecedented reveal. Big lore. Did you know all along? From the start of the trial? A judge sees everything, Susato. I'm actually good at my job, unlike the judges in every other Ace Attorney game. I couldn't let you take the risk. If Shishiro here hadn't known, and then he'd recognized you. So I had a word in his ear beforehand, as an old friend. So, Shishiro, shall we? Yes! Having ruled on that case, we now have various diplomatic issues to address. Before you go, Father. Sorry, my dear. We shall have to return to our earlier conversation at a later date. I'm still not going to tell you why I summoned you here. God damn it. Well done again, both of you. You did admirably. The judge has a name. What did you think of my Susato sling, eh? Oh my god, he's got a name and a secret technique. Let's go. What did you think of my Susato sling, eh? It's been a while since I sent a man flying like that. Ha 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 ha! Not quite as sexy as your Susato takedown. Sashiro, my daughter is 15, 16. Wrestler judge. Let's freaking go, dude. The judge has a name. Insane. The judges you never meet the judges outside of it. I'm gonna have to bring this up with father sometime when nobody else is around. Judicial Assistant Mikotoba-san, Esquires, could I have a word? Oh my god, what now? My poor Among Us friends, I'm never gonna get to be sus. Perhaps it could be fate that we're meeting again like this now. You see, there's something I need to tell you. I believe that it may be related to the reason why your father summoned you back from England. More lore. They have to lore. This is such a like we finished the first case and now it's time to get a lore bomb. Everyone is giving us lore right now, except Susato's dad, who's being cagey as usual. I will tell you. I will tell you. Oh god, is he just a John Oliver impression? Like a really bad, weird, manic John Oliver? Is that what I've been doing for him this whole time? As you know, my time in England was terrible. Cursed, I have no doubt. Such awful things I was embroiled in. Thank goodness locum student Naruhito S-san Esquire stepped in. After he secured my freedom, I couldn't wait to get on a ship back here to my homeland. Oh, also, Casey, we're playing as Susato for this case. Because it's the tutorial case of the second game. Having arrived in Japan, I submitted a report about my experiences to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The next thing I knew, I had a visitor. It was your father, who wanted to ask me all sorts of things about my report. Is her father keeping secrets? Or like helping with the government secret stuff? Ah, this is also sus. He's freaking involved? I don't know. And the wrestler judge! What is going on? This game loves to do the end the case and then give you so much lore. And it's really complicated overarching plot lore that they'll just jump on you after the trial. What was it then? The particular part my father was interested in? I don't really know exactly. But do you remember them? Those two terrible cases I was caught up in. Two? Wasn't it just one? Your father seemed to concern himself mainly with the second case. The second one? You mean the one Mr. Sholmes forbade any of us to talk about? Huh? What do you mean the one Mr. Sholmes forbade? Was there a secret case we didn't play? Which is why the only case involving you that any member of the public is aware of is the first. Well, I don't care! Why do we not know about what is this case? Well, I don't care! I don't have to listen to what that dastardly detective says. Anyway, the point is, it seems that case somehow holds the key to all these curious the case that you didn't get to play! Let me play it! Is that gonna be the next case? That case somehow caused my father to summon me urgently back to Japan. I thought that whole business was over. But perhaps it was only the start. Perhaps the story of that case is not yet told. Flashback case? Is that the case we're going to now? When do we get to play that case?
So,
oh god, I forgot about her weird accent.
Solved, thank goodness.
What is that accent?
Court
is that a British person trying to do a Japanese? What is this voice?
How you must be feeling as you fight for people's freedom in a
sounds
foreign
like
land,
Scottish.
Naruhito-san.
Weird accent. I'm cold.
But actually, I'm writing to you today because of another matter.
Jack, are you here? Can you tell me what this second case is?
Father has said nothing to me.
What is this second case? What is this second case he was involved in? You can't just tell me that some secret sixth case holds the key to all.
Still be in the office, tucked away at the back of the shelves on the left. Perhaps you might like to look over them again.
Can I play the case? What's happening? What is this other?
This year, it feels as though summer has arrived. The sky is a brilliant blue.
What is this other case? I need to talk to Jack about this.
It makes me long.
Am I gonna get
see
to,
you
like, what
again.
is this? What is this? What is this other case that we didn't play? Could we have played that one instead of the Joan Garadib one? I mean, I guess the Joan Garadib one was the first case involving the author guy, Soseki. So, but the second case sounds like it was the one that was actually important to lore. Achievement unlocked. Susato's success. All right. Well, maybe in the next episode we'll get to play this other case. The memoirs of the clouded Kokoro. Okay. Episode 2, the memoirs of the clouded. Twisted Kama and his last blow. Whoa. And this one's just a blank image with text. I like this poster. This is like kind of ominous. Huh. Alright, well. It's time to switch over to some Among Us. Gotta be sus. Yeah, return to the high school. We're stopping now. I want to know about what this other case was, though. This is like, what is this? If you could tell me, somebody in the chat could tell me, that'd be great. I'm gonna close the game. We're gonna switch. We're gonna switch over to Among Us.